Hello everyone and welcome back. So the past couple of videos have been videos I had done a couple months ago. Now we're getting into ones that I had just done this past week, at least the past week of when I'm recording this. Who knows when this video will come out. But I got an invader apparently here, just sitting there looking at me. I got my cat, he's just sitting here, sitting on my desk, staring at me, wondering what I'm doing. I'm recording a video. But yeah, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys this picture of Chikorita. So we'll go ahead and start off here with just like little, if I could get it, there we go. So I was doing some like sketch drawing, where I was just trying to get some ideas for like different poses, and I was trying to work on drawing poses because that's one of the things I'm trying to get better at. So we have this picture here of different grass type Pokemon, except for Kadabra down there at the bottom. I drew like a little tail and I was like, that looks like Kadabra's, tail. So I just drew a little spoon and drew some arms or whatever. But here I started off just drawing some grass type Pokemon. I drew Chikorita from behind like that. And then I went and took this picture, I copied it and started it into like a whole other canvas. So that's why it just starts off immediately being there. Then I zoomed up the picture to make it bigger and started drawing it. And then I started realizing, from me trying to like, I draw like a rough draft version, and then I try to draw like a more finer line version or whatever, where I touch up the lines and make them look smoother and stuff. I was looking at this and I was like, it doesn't really look any different. Or not really. I mean, lines are less jagged, more straight and smooth, but I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it, I guess you could say. So I ended up just scrapping it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to draw simple shapes, and I'm going to try and do something with these simple shapes. So I drew two of these like ovals, and I also realized back here, you can see Chikorita. Chikorita doesn't have a mouth, or the front part of its mouth. It doesn't stick out like it does there. She's more like, has like a flat face, I guess you could say. So I went through and I started over a new one, and I was drawing like a simple one from the front. I wanted to draw her where she was like laying down. I drew the leaf there, and then you can see here, I started adding Pikmin. Because I was like, Chikorita's leaf. It was reminding me of how like the Pikmin have 3 different stages. There's like the first little leaf stage, and then there's like the second one where it's like a bud, and then the third stage where it's like a flower. So I got that idea for drawing Pikmin, so I started adding some Pikmin here into the picture. I went in, I started smoothing out the lines, more defining the different shapes I was going for, and just improving on it overall. But then I started looking at this, I'm like, all right, but if I go to finish this and go to color this, there's a lot of empty space. So I thought, the Pikmin are small. They're kind of small, so it's kind of hard for them to stand out. So I wanted to add more things, or more Pikmin, in fact, to make it show like, hey, this is like Pokemon and Pikmin, not just like, what are those little tiny things that you can't really see? So I went through and I drew that little number bud thing that comes out of some of the flowers that you can use the Pikmin to collect and bring back to the ship. I drew Chikorita having her vine whip out so that she could be playing with one of the Pikmin that's hanging on there. And I just drew a couple more Pikmin. I added 4 more and added that flower thing. Then here I started finalizing the line art I wanted to use, and I did this on different layers so I could erase things as needed. Started touching up everything a bit more. Went over here, touched up that like little pill thing or whatever that is. I have no idea what to call that. And then I started trying to figure out, as I was coloring, like we would go back here, I started trying to figure out how I was going to color them. If you don't know Pikmin, by default, there are 3 Pikmin, and then the later games added like a white poison one, or a purple heavy one, or there's like a rock one, or flying ones or whatever. But the default Pikmin, there was red, yellow, and blue, and each one had different things. So like this red one down there in the corner, the red Pikmin have noses, the yellow Pikmin have ears, and then the blue Pikmin have a mouth. Now, I had drawn it this way, where there was the blue Pikmin on the top and the one in the back, but I wanted to add a bit more because you don't really get to see a lot of the blue Pikmin because the one is kind of in the background. So I started coloring this, and I added another blue one down there just so that there'd be more. I went in, started coloring things, started adding more shading there. For the Chikorita leaf, I fixed her leaf, made it like a little thicker. Then I started using this kind of bluish green color. Because I like the more, when it comes to shading, I don't like when it's just gray shading, unless it's like a black and white picture or something. But like when it comes to colors, I really like colors. So I wanted to make the shading colorful. So rather than going for, here's green, so let's just use a darker green, I wanted to use like a bluish green. And I started doing that there. You can see that a lot better on the body. And then I started shading the top of her head. I ended up leaving, oh, did I end up leaving that there? I don't know if I ended up leaving that there on her head, but I ended up started adding more shading back there. I added like a little shadow. It took me until after I signed my name, because usually I sign my name on the art and then it kind of just sits there in the folder, and then I kind of look at it a little more, and then I go back in and touch things up or change a few more things. And I'd forgotten to like add shading to the right back here. I had forgotten to add shading to the Pikmin's like little leaves on their heads. So I went through and added some shading on their leaves, like down there, and just all of them in general. But yeah, I'm not good at talking during these. So here's the finished picture. This is Chikorita. I've been calling it the Queen. But I like the little interactions I did here, like especially this one Pikmin. This one's probably my favorite, just the one that's just hanging there. I really like that one. You got the yellow one that's crawling up on top. You got this other blue one that's hanging here, but that one's further back, which I tried to make a little simpler. Just because when things are further away, you draw it simpler so that if you draw something further away but you add a bunch of detail to it, it doesn't look as good. So I tried drawing that one simpler. And then I went down here and I wanted to have where the Pikmin are actually doing like Pikmin things. I mean, other than I guess just like messing with things or interacting with things, but I wanted there to be some instance of like Pikmin doing something that they would normally do in the game, which is carrying things. And like with this flower, the number 1 there would show that it only needs 1 Pikmin to carry, but I wanted to have multiple Pikmin carrying it. And then I drew the blue one sitting on top so that, because this blue one here was mostly being covered. So that this secondary blue one here, if I can go ahead and make a new layer, this secondary blue one right here was added after so that there was some extra visual Pikmin. Because again, like half of this Pikmin down here is covered, so you don't really get to see much of it. So I wanted to add another blue one that was there so that it feels like, to me, there's a nice balance between the number of Pikmin here. Like there's this little one here and then a half one here. So if we add another full one here, that kind of adds a number balance between these 2 yellow ones and then these 2 red ones. And then these 2 red ones, they stick out a lot more just because they're close to each other and they're on the far left side. So I think I did a good balance of the number of Pikmin on the screen, and it's not too much to where it's overcrowds, and I like drawing simpler pictures, so I think that the number I have here just keeps it simpler. So here's my picture for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.